Hi everybody, and welcome to another quick video of cooking during COVID with kids screaming in the background. We are between their classes right now. I have an hour, which is unheard of, until classes start, so I thought I would make something snazzy today. I asked my wife what she wanted me to make for dinner when she got home. I gave her two choices, and she chose salmon cakes, which this is pretty much the appetizer that is in the free download of recipe book 2, free download. And also that same exact recipe is used in book numero 3 for the salmon burgers, which it isn't really just a salmon burger patty, it's a super snazzy salmon cake. This recipe originally is Ina Garten's high-rated crab cake recipe, but though my intention initially was to make a snazzy crab cake appetizer for book 2, crab was about $20 a pound here, and there was no way I was going to ask people to spend 20 bucks for the protein, so I instead modified it to be a salmon cake because it's more affordable, still incredibly delicious, and would make it more accessible to more people. Though unfortunately for people on the green plan, salmon is the highest pointed fish because of its fat content. Even though it's healthy fat, it's still fat calories. So feel free to substitute the salmon for an equal amount of crab or cod or any fish that you feel like. Just adjust the points. So with that out of the way, thank you Ina Garten for the inspiration. I hack down your recipes all the time. So this has a lot of ingredients in it, and that is a turnoff for a lot of people, but not for the people who like to cook and like good food. When you go to a restaurant and you eat something and you're like, this is fantastic, usually there's a lot of ingredients in it. And for the people who say that your recipes are too involved because they have more than 3 ingredients, there's a reason why your food is plain. Add more seasonings, add more spices, kick it up. You know, step out of your comfort zone. You know, there's nothing wrong with 3 ingredients if you're, time constrained. I have time constraints too. 2 handicapped kids, all their programs. I make it work because I like good food. So with that diatribe out of the way, here we go. I'm going to read the laundry list of ingredients for you because there's a lot of them in these salmon cakes, which were originally Ina Garten's crab cakes. I'm only making a half batch because I'm just making 1 salmon cake for my wife, and I'm reserving 1 to make it into a burger patty for a second video, which will be making my salmon burgers. So this half batch will have a ½ pound of salmon. The points on this are really interesting. I will read those at the end. It's very complicated. But a ½ pound of salmon, 2 tablespoons of diced red pepper, yellow pepper, celery, and red onion. A tablespoon, remember half batch, a tablespoon of diced, finely chopped Italian parsley. You might see it in the store as flat leaf parsley or Italian parsley. They're one and the same. A 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1/8 teaspoon black pepper, a 1/4 teaspoon or more to taste of Old Bay seasoning, 1 tablespoon of egg white or egg white, my soundtrack, or egg white in a canister, 2 tablespoons Greek yogurt, a 1/4 teaspoon Worcestershire sauce, a ½ teaspoon of Dijon, and a ½ cup of Rice Krispies. Bear with me on that one. Now let's get started. I have everything pre-chopped because I'm busy today. The only thing I didn't cut in advance was 1 tablespoon of finely chopped flat leaf parsley. So watch your fingers, folks. You only have 10 and they don't grow back. So we're just going to give these a tiny little chop. And there we go. So I'm just gonna eyeball it. About a tablespoon. Sounds good. let's get to the stove. All right, folks, I have because this is a half recipe, normally we would use a larger one. I am using a small saucepan, and to this I am going to spray my cooking spray, butter flavored, and then add all of my diced vegetables, the red onion, yellow pepper, red pepper, and celery. I am also going to add the Old Bay. I have a 1/4 teaspoon of Old Bay, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and 1/8 of a teaspoon of black pepper. I'm going to add that in and stir it for a minute. We aren't going to cook these till they're dead. We're pretty much just cooking these over medium heat for 3 to 4 minutes. Maybe we're just trying to soften them, get the vegetables to start to sweat and soften and get a little bit more flavor out of them versus just putting them in raw. In the same way that if you eat a raw stick of zucchini, it tastes a lot different than roasted zucchini. The cooked tastes better, brings out the sugars, caramelization, all that stuff. These are starting to break down a little bit. I'm going to add the flat leaf Italian parsley. We're going to let this cook down for a couple of minutes. Alright, it has been about 4 minutes. These have rendered down a little bit, are done cooking. Now I'm going to take these off the heat and set them off to the side so they cool down a little bit. Alright, we are back. While I was cutting over here, I stopped and measured out a 1/2 cup of Rice Krispies. Yes, Rice Krispies, or the generic equivalent, and crushed it up. Why? Well, because it equals out for 2 points of Rice Krispies, you get a 1/4 cup of crumbs. Where if you were to just use regular breadcrumbs, that's 3 points. So every little point you shave helps when you're being crazy and manic like I am. So we have a 1/2 cup of, and a 1/4 cup of crumbs from our crushed Rice Krispies. Now, the vegetables are over here cooling. I took one good-sized salmon fillet that was a 1/2 pound, 8 ounces, and I chopped it up, diced it, and then rough chopped the diced nice little cubes a little bit so they weren't all even shapes. There are some big, some small, and so we have our 1/2 cup of chopped up salmon. Once again, I'll go over the points for the salmon, which is crazy. To that, we are going to add our vegetables, our cooked vegetables that have cooled a little bit, our crushed Rice Krispies. We're also going to add a tablespoon of plain fat-free Greek yogurt. Actually, 2 tablespoons. 2 tablespoons. Bless you. And we're going to add 1 teaspoon of egg white. If you have it in the carton, it's easier. I don't, so I actually have to crack an egg to get the egg white. I'll use the rest for an omelet or something. So there is a teaspoon. Hard to scoop out egg. There's 1 teaspoon of egg white. Hey, no, tablespoon. See, I need coffee, folks. 2, 3, 4, and 5. There is our tablespoon of egg whites. And we are also going to add a 1/2 teaspoon. I can eyeball it, but I suggest you measure. 1/2 teaspoon of Dijon, a 1/4 teaspoon, so just a splash, of Worcestershire sauce, and this is optional, a dash of hot sauce. And then we are going to mix this all up till it's thoroughly combined. Cover it with plastic wrap, set it in the fridge for 30 minutes. And while that's setting, we're going to preheat the oven to 425 degrees. All right, it has been 30 minutes. We have allowed the salmon mixture to sit and have the flavors meld and the texture bind up. It's been 30 minutes in the fridge. So What I normally do for the appetizer version of this, when I'm using it for appetizers, is, of course, it's a double batch. Jesse, what do you want? You want the car. I'll take you for a drive after school. Shh. Jesse, I'll give you cookies in a minute. Shh. Daddy's making a video. Thank you, COVID. So a 1/3 cup scoops and rounded down, place them all around on parchment paper and bake them 15 minutes at 425 on one side, flip them 15 minutes on the other side. And it makes hockey puck sized salmon cakes that at that size come to 3 points per cake for the blue people. For people, for the green people. For people on blue and purple, you get the first salmon cake for 0, and then salmon cakes 1, 2, and 3 are just 1 point for those. It's awesome. Put it in the builder, figure it out yourself. Now these I'm making for larger patties because it's going to be for a burger, and my wife and I are on blue and purple. So I am going to just make 2 large patties of this. And out of curiosity, because I never really weighed it, I am going to see how much each one weighs. I am going to split this down the middle. And so 1 patty, using my kitchen scale, weighs, with all the filler and everything, barely a hair under 6 ounces, which is pretty darn good. So I'm just going to form these into balls so they don't stick. And yes, I will wipe this all down. I'm going to hit it with cooking spray. And I'm going to take my burger patty form, cheap little plastic one I got off Amazon. And we are going to lay out some cooking spray, get the form, and make nice, thick salmon patties. Boom. And they will plump up while you bake them. At the bottom of the cooking spray, put it on. Do the same thing with the other, and we'll put them in the oven, 425, 15 minutes. Take them out, flip it, 15 more minutes, and they'll be done. All right, I have 2 minutes until the kids' class starts. It has been 15 minutes. I'm going to take the crab cakes out. They are on a parchment paper lined pan. Don't use foil or they will burn. Going to really quickly spray the top with cooking spray. Hold on. Flip the patties over and then return them to the oven for another 15 minutes. Now let's go log the kids into class. Kitchen 15. Go team! Alright everybody, sorry about the background noise. Jesse is in class right now and his iPad's just a few feet behind my camera, so sorry if you're having a hard time hearing me over his fantastic teacher. So the salmon patties came out of the oven, a total of half an hour, 15 minutes each side at 425 on parchment paper. Don't use foil. And these are huge, delicious, and though this is salmon, you could, like I mentioned, easily swap out for lump crab or chopped up cod. And if you're on the green plan, it would reduce the points dramatically. If you're blue-purple, it doesn't matter. For blue and purple people, these are 1 point per huge patty. Greenies, the points are listed on the recipe pages, which will be in the link, but these are fantastic, well seasoned, all that stuff, and this is from Ina Garten's crab cake recipe.